Fall 2025 brought the release of Wicked Part 2 for good, but I had never seen Part 1, or seen the original musical, or read the book. So, this is the story about watching Wicked for the first time. I'll be talking about the plots of both movies, so if you don't want spoilers, check them out and come back later. My only knowledge of the world of Oz was from the 1939 film that for some reason we all still watched in the early 2000s. Back then, when I was a kid, I remember enjoying the weird fever dream that was a young girl from Kansas getting isekai'd into a magical world, journeying with an eclectic group of characters while avoiding the wrath of a wicked witch, all in order to make it to the titular wizard who would hopefully help her get home, before clicking her ruby slippers together and waking up back in Kansas. The funny thing about the original is that one part scared me so badly as a kid that I completely repressed it from my memory. The flying monkeys. Those actors dressed in monkey costumes elicited such fear from me that I removed the thought from my brain, and years later as a teen, when my mom mentioned the flying monkey scene, I said, "Wait, there are no flying monkeys in that movie," and then was horrified finding out I had forgotten about a whole part of the film when I watched it again. So, my knowledge going into Wicked was minimal. Luckily, my friend Naomi really enjoys musicals and invited me to watch Part 1 before Part 2 came out in theaters later that month. So one evening, we sat down for a cozy movie night to watch Wicked Part 1. From the moment the movie started and we were thrown into the first song, I was like, okay, this is gonna be pretty good. The visuals were beautiful, from the vibrant sets to the on-point wardrobe. The music had been adjusted for the big screen in what I thought was a very successful way. Before I knew it, I was enjoying the story of how Elphaba and Glinda encountered each other in school and transformed from bitter rivals to good friends. Honestly, I think my favorite song in the whole first part was What Is This Feeling? I get that most people prefer the moving, powerful songs like Defying Gravity, but I'm a sucker for an upbeat and snappy song with matching choreography. Oh, and the choreography was so fun in this movie. When the character Fiero was introduced, I remember thinking, okay, of course there's going to be a male character that causes some different dynamics between our female leads. Then he got his dance number and I was like, okay, I get it. The other big plot points within this movie, from the bullying and prejudice against Elphaba and the oppressive actions made against the animals, really hit home. I thought how those larger themes coincided with the evolving relationship between Elphaba and Glinda created a very engaging plot for this musical movie, and when we finally got to the end of the film, where the girls meet the wizard and that dream of Elphaba's starts to crumble and she finds her resolve, I was left excited to watch Part 2. A few weeks after I watched Part 1 for the first time, we headed to the theater to see Part 2. The room was packed, and it was fun hearing the excited whisperings of the crowd as the movie began. Where Part 1 was so much world building and rising action, Part 2 felt like we were in the thick of it from the beginning, with the land of Oz being fed propaganda about Elphaba being a wicked witch and using Glinda as a positive mascot for good. Honestly, this part had so much lore in it that I wasn't expecting. Again, maybe because my brain was only remembering pieces of the original film, but I spent the whole movie looking over at Naomi shocked when the plots connected. When Bach started getting the metal stuck to him, I was like, oh my god, Tin Man. Then, when the hurricane started making its way towards Munchkin Land and Nellie was outside, oh my god, Wicked Witch of the East, bro. And when Fiero was sent to the fields to be tied up, oh my god, Scarecrow. My FNAF brain had me locked in at this point, and seeing the world of Wicked become the origin story for all of these characters was fascinating. Oh yeah, and we can't forget about the flying monkeys again. In Part 1, seeing how they were normal monkeys turned into flying monkeys definitely made me sympathize with them, and then by Part 2, when Elphaba freed them and they were fighting the system together, I was fully team flying monkeys. So we've successfully healed that wound. Again, I knew nothing about Wicked before seeing these movies. The only song I was aware of was Defying Gravity, mostly because they sang it on Glee years ago, and it was featured in every TikTok about Peak the Game that I watched. So, when we got to the end of the movie, and we know Elphaba is at the end of her journey, and she starts singing for good with Glinda, I looked over at my bestie, and we were both like, for the whole song. It was very touching. The rest of the movie felt well resolved, with Glinda going back to the Emerald City to bring us the big connection between the wizard and Elphaba, to shut down Madame Morrible, and to establish a better Oz. While, on the side, we get confirmation about Elphaba and the Scarecrow Fiero's survival. So, I thoroughly enjoyed the movie. I'm sure people who are more familiar with the original musical or book may have their own opinions, but in general, I had a fun time, and I definitely recommend watching this with a dear friend. So that was my experience watching Wicked for the first time. Let me know what you think of the musical and the movies. This is the first long storytime animatic I've made, and I had a lot of fun, so hopefully you'll see more in the future. But in the meantime, I hope you have a good week. Bye-bye!